Good morning. Now we are in West Berlin, in Charlottenburg district, close to the famous heritage so-called greenhouse built by the architect Gessner. We are at Milburgstraße. And today I'm excited to present you our new video project, Faces of Berlin, and our first guest will be Volker Diehl, an internationally renowned gallery owner, and we are going inside of his gallery Diehl to have a look at his current exhibition of German photographer Thomas Florschütz. Let's go.
Nice to see you. Very nice to see you. Welcome in my gallery and my new exhibition. It's Thomas Florschütz, a photographer who I will present almost 20 years, I think. He shows new artworks, new photographs of a project he never showed public. And it's actually a very special project because he was able to make photographs just before the Ethnological Museum in Dahlem closed in January 2017. And he made a series of photographs in the process of closing down the museum. So here you can see like parts of the exhibition with the vitrines in like different layers of room and perspective. He's very famous for his architectural photography. And here you see already some of the artifacts, some of the art objects in the storage. This is a vitrine which is still like it was planned for the exhibition. And here you can see that half of the vitrine, you see the nails, the screws on the wall, were already put down and in storage.
So this is the main hall of the gallery, so where all the exhibitions are running. How many exhibitions did you have before Corona time for a year?
I mean, we did pretty normal program. This is our third exhibition this year.
Okay, cool. So maybe you show us the other rooms, creative rooms where Volker is working. So, who is this artist?
That's a painting by another artist of my gallery, Martin Assig. A painting from 2004 called The Partisan. So yeah, it's a woman with a gun on her back and with a lot of breasts to feed partisans. So very strong painting. Please follow me.
Cool. So this is the place where Volker is working. Wow, what a beautiful oasis.
That's my favorite room, my favorite gallery garden. And
that's a lot of inspiration comes from.
And a lot of relaxing when I'm working here. So.
So who is taking care about all these plants?
I do usually. So it's my kind of meditation in between.
Yeah, let's have a sit and find out who the real Volker Diehl is.
Part of it.
Upon entering, I introduced you as the owner of the Contemporary Art Gallery. But in fact, Volker Diehl is so much more than just a gallery owner. Talking about all your enormous professional achievements and collaborations, which of them are you mostly proud of?
Business-wise? I'm always honest to myself in that I'm not just running after any kind of fashion or mainstream movement or just, money or like things like that. So that took a lot of experience and difficult times, business-wise. But with the age, you come down a little bit, and then you continue much more in the way you started when you were. I had an idea when I was 20, 25, what I wanted to do. And in between I made a lot of mistakes, and I was just running after something which I thought should be done or would be helpful, or like a more opportunistic way. And I had to learn that I had to go back to my roots and to my, you can say it even in a romantic way, to my dreams, and work with art and artists the way I believe in. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm proud of.
But coming to the business part, on the collaboration part of your experience, in one of the interviews you said that Joseph Beuys changed your perspective of art.
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky that in my early days I met a few really great artists, and the time was very different than now, and the art world was very, very different compared to now. But Beuys was really special. At that time it was 82. I met him April 82. I still have a few beautiful photographs. And he was part of the Zeitgeist exhibition, where I was PA of Norm Rosenthal and Christos Joachimides. I was a young man, 24 years old. Special personalities like Joseph Beuys, you don't meet every day. I mean, he was very spiritual, very kind, very polite, very, very strong, and really wonderful mind. And it was great fun to talk to him, to listen to him. He was very democratic, very different to many other people. No power games, nothing like that. He was always kind and good mood. And he was talking to the waiter in Paris bar the same way as he was talking to me, or a big collector, or to my boss, or to a politician. He was like a very democratic person, I think, in many ways. And and that's impressive for a young man. I mean,
absolutely.
It was a great opportunity that I could spend a few weeks, a month with him in Zeitgeist exhibition in Gropiusbau. He was the kind of personality who enters a room and changes the atmosphere right away. It's like without even saying a word. I really, really liked him.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. But Andy Warhol, you have also a picture of Andy Warhol in your kitchen.
Yeah, the story with Andy was also very interesting, because we were visiting the Gropiusbau in April 82. The opening was planned for October 82. And Andy was walking around, and then he took me on the side and he said, because he wanted to do special works for the exhibition, like most of the artists, also Beuys, did. He said he always admired the architecture of Albert Speer. And if I could get him photographs. At that time there were not many books existing on Albert Speer's architectural oeuvre. So I went to the Landesbildstelle here in Ullstein archive, and I found photographs from the Light Dome and from many other things, which we copied and sent to New York. And he used several of the images. One image was the Light Dome Albert Speer created for the Reichsparteitag Gelände in Nuremberg. I think it was 34. And he used that for a series of works. And when the first one was finished, was not even put on a stretcher, he sent me Ektachrome transparency, and as a kind of thank you. And I still have it, and it's hanging in my gallery, always in the back room, so reminding me of good old days. But 1 year later, I visited him then
so you were in contact.
in New York, and okay, it was not the time of mobile phone yet, not the time of computer. So I just called him and said, I will be next month in New York, and he said, you're very welcome, just come by. And he spent half a day with us, with Roland, my partner, Roland Hagenberg, and me, and showed us the factory. We were drinking, had some food. Also very open-minded, very kind, and we were just two young guys coming from Germany, but he spent almost the whole day with us. It was big fun. Unfortunately, 3 years later, he died already.
What actually makes a good artist, and what makes a good gallerist?
Well, that's a very tricky question. If I would know, I would be really super successful. No, what makes a good...
You did it in a successful way, so you know it.
What makes a good gallerist is to be open-minded and to be ready to learn every day and to believe in yourself and in your eye and in your message you want to create for yourself. Most of the gallerists are very individual and very, very different kind of personalities, and the way they work and the way they are successful can be also very, very different. But I don't know. I was also lucky to meet several times Leo Castelli, who was like compared to, he was those days maybe the number one. Now it's Larry Gagosian, so it was very, very different. But in the same way, they were also very similar. So Leo was more kind of romantic, elegant, wonderful gentleman. We did an interview with him, and it took like 3 or 4 hours. Again, he was talking about his life, and he took us out. We had lunch later then with Iliana Sonnabend, who was his former wife, and very different world to now. On one hand, on the other hand, what connects him with a gallerist like Larry Gagosian is to have a great eye and to believe in the artist and in major artworks and into quality of the artist. So that's very, very important as well. But sure, today it's different because business and money became a little bit more important than it was in those days. That's definitely a huge difference. And there are so many ways of being successful or to work with art now. It's like almost endless. And there are much more opportunities also now for galleries to work. But I'm a more a kind of smaller gallerist who is working in his own niche and try to create my own style and my own content in the gallery. So what makes a good artist successful? This is a magic. Great artists is that they are very authentic in what they are doing, and they have to be authentic not only for 5 years, they should be authentic for their whole life, which is can be quite long. Life is short actually, but to be, to work
not on a hype wave.
To work on a high level continuously for over decades, it's very, very long. And this is definitely something which makes a good artist.
Okay, you have in the whole Martin Assing work. So this is the artist that you always called serious and a real artist.
Yeah.
So I would say this is even working together mostly 30 years. So this is
Over
already
30
friendship,
years now.
probably.
Yeah, no, it's a very good friendship and a long time friendship. And what connects us is that we are both people who create strength out of doubts. I mean, he is a very doubtful person, and I'm a very doubtful person. But to have doubts can be negative and can take energy, but it also can do the opposite. And I always liked that he was never making compromises, doesn't matter. He always was believing in himself and doing what he wanted to do. And it's not so easy for an artist sometimes because they are under enormous pressure. They see there's another colleague who has a museum show now and they don't get a museum show. There's another colleague who costs 10 times more than their own paintings. And so there's this competition which sometimes is a lot of pressure on artists. And you have to deal with that and have to be honest with yourself over years and years and years and not give up, which sometimes happens. So, but he's a strong person. But because he's a kind of little universe by himself. I mean, he collects. He lives outside of Berlin. He has his house, which he created over years. He built another additional barn to the house. He's like very much like how you say grounded in himself, and that helps a lot.
But calling him a serious artist, what is for you then not serious artist?
I mean, he is a typical artist like most of the very good artists. He loves books, he reads a lot, he's a very intellectual person. He loves philosophy. He also additionally is interested in religion, which is not the case for many artists. But anyway, I mean, I would connect it to the philosophical side. So that's a kind of serious attitude, which I like a lot, because it's big fun to talk to him, and I always learn something when we meet. The unserious artists, I don't know. I mean, there are in every profession you have people who are going deep and other people are staying on the surface.
So let's say, what is the 5 big changes, main changes for you in the art world from the time when you were working together with Andy Warhol and now, like?
Yeah, I was never working with Andy Warhol.
Well, like meeting him and from the time.
Okay, I was
30 years
working
ago,
when I worked as a museum. That's true. Yeah. And we had a lot of contact, telephone calls and letters, etc. It was before the fax time. I think my first fax machine I bought, let me think, 85 maybe. Then the next change was when the wall came down, 89, 90. So the world opened up. It was like maybe the biggest change, not only of the art world, but this globalization influenced all of our lives. Because up to 89, the art world was mainly Germany, was Switzerland, Italy, a little bit of Belgium, and then the United States. And in the United States, especially New York, a little bit of Chicago. Los Angeles was like 1 or 2, 3 galleries. It was small. There was no Miami at that time. And then there was no Scandinavia really, beside of a few exceptions, not even really England or France, also only exceptional single galleries working there. No Spain, they were still like, suffering because Franco died, I think, 75, and it took quite a while to recover. There was no Asia, just a little bit of Japan, end of the 80s. There was no China, no Korea. There was no Russia or East Europe. So, I mean, all these countries, there were quite good artists working, but there was no art world. There was no collecting. There was no contemporary art museums, really. And so that changed a lot around 1990, and then in a few years it became a completely different world. And especially we founded 95, 96, I think it was 96, we founded the Art Fair in Berlin, and that was right in the time when art world recovered, because between 1995 it was in deep depression. Art world recovered and was exploding, and to the kind of art world 25 years later now. So there was a second change. Third change was that through internet and through social media and all the possibilities, the art world became very different. I mean, this new technology creates also as a kind of echo, new kind of artist or new kind of dealing, new kind of galleries. And that was definitely a huge change which is still going on. It's not finished. Then the fourth change I think we are experiencing now, because the last couple of years art became a kind of currency. I mean, next to stocks, to real estate, to gold, people are now believing in that artworks can be stable by value, and people are what we say, I would call it investing, I would call it more like parking money in art. And that's a very new story, which is only a few years old. I mean, there were always people investing in art, but that's a different story. But that, like a huge, wider mass of people is trusting art that way is quite new, I think. And the fifth change we are waiting for. I'm sure the whole world, the art world, will look a little bit different. But it's difficult to say how. Yeah, but it's very difficult to say how. I mean, a few things which we experience already is that it will be more virtual, but at the same time, I know, I mean, my clients or my friends, they always want to come and they want to see it, want to stand in front of it and want to feel it. And I'm the same. So it's this combination. It's if you connect it in a nice and intelligent way, it gives you more opportunities.
So fall in love with Berlin after this, traveling around the world, live in New York, live in Moscow, but always come back to Berlin. Why to Berlin? Is it something that Germans call Heimat, Liebe?
Yeah, Berlin. I mean, Berlin and me and Berlin is a love and hate relation in a way. I mean, there were at least 2 or 3 times that I wanted to leave Berlin and live somewhere else. In the end of the 80s, I had the idea to move to New York, but then I met my first wife. We married. We got first baby, so I definitely had a few other things to think about. It was the wrong moment, and then again I started to think about, and then the wall came down, and then I thought, okay, this is the place where I should be now. And yeah, it was a little bit like that. That I several times really wanted to move somewhere else. I lived between Moscow and Berlin, but then with the crisis 2008, 2009, I had a lot of problems, also financial problems, so I had to come back to Berlin again. I mean, I kept my place here, but I wanted to build up something in Moscow, which didn't work out the way I wanted. So I came back 100% to Berlin. Political situation I'm not really happy with. I think they're not using the possibilities this city has. But still, I have a very good life here, and as you can see, I have a beautiful garden, I have a beautiful gallery, my family is here. So at the same time, I love my life here. So it's a little bit like that. But I think that counts for other people in other cities as well, so it's not so special.
Moscow. Coming back to this topic, so big of your professional and personal life is connected with Eastern Europe and also with Russia. You were actually the first foreigner who opened the gallery in Moscow in 2008. Why Moscow? Why Russia? How did you come to this decision?
It's not always a clever idea to be a pioneer. I think Mr. Hammer, was also very much involved in arts. He said one day that as a pioneer you get a bloody nose, and you should be in the second row. It's much better, to watch what's going on and then make your decision. That happened to me. I mean, I was first one, but it was the wrong moment. I mean, the financial crisis 2008, 2009.
Nobody could predict.
Hit us very much, and so I had to close the gallery end of 2009. But beside of that, I still love Moscow. I love East Europe. I have lots of beautiful stories to tell. I have many good friends there. I represent Russian artists. I represent Ukrainian artists. I represent Romanian artists. I somehow like East Europe a lot, and I'm sometimes a little bit sad about prejudice and the attitude of the West towards East Europe. I really always have to defend the Russians. But the culture and the people and life there is quite exciting, and I always enjoy to be there. It's I like the mentality. There's a lot what I like about Russians, but the way how Russians survive and always find a solution, even in the worst moments, is a very archaic way, which I feel attached to. For me, it's something I have never a problem with. I always find right away friends and understand situations and can deal with it. For me, it's a great country. So,
thank you. I have 10 questions from the Marcel Proust questionnaire.
That's a famous one, yeah.
Yeah, so he believed that this is the best way to open the personality.
I was always scared to answer them, so I don't know if I can.
Let's see, it's only 10.
Yeah, I know.
So this is a quick question, quick answer. What is your idea of perfect happiness?
As I already said, for me, perfect happiness is this balance between unhappy and being happy, because it's impossible to be happy all the time, and it should be impossible to be unhappy all the time. So this is what I'm working on there and believing in.
What is your greatest fear?
That yeah, it's even hard for me to say, to pronounce it, but I think greatest fear is that your kids die before you die. Yeah. I believe in that.
Clear. What is your current state of mind?
Full of ideas, as always. Too many, actually. I always tell myself, say no, say no. I try to learn to say no, and I tell sometimes myself in the morning, I stand in front of the mirror and I pronounce it, but it doesn't work. So Women have it, they're a little bit easier because they learn with 13, 14 that they should know, should say no. But for men it's sometimes difficult.
Interesting. On what occasion do you lie?
No, I don't have a clear answer because it's like when you lie and you don't have a real choice, you feel very unhappy about it. Huh? And
you always
it's
have
very,
a choice.
it's like, yeah, but sometimes you don't have, it's like very difficult. Sometimes it's, to protect. I mean, in a private life, you sometimes you make a mistake, and it's maybe not really something you wanted or you mean. And if you say the truth, what we say in I don't know what the English word is again. We say in German Notlüge.
Yeah,
you know that word? I don't know what. It's called white lie.
White lie.
Yeah, I never heard.
Today, okay.
It's so funny. It's white lie. So
cool. So, what do you most dislike about your appearance?
I don't know.
You're happy.
I'm happy with myself.
Great.
It's like
This
it's also useless not to be unhappy with yourself. No, last year I was a little bit unhappy with myself, and I lost 10 kilos in 3 months. So.
Cool.
Yeah, but things like that you can arrange.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Out.
What is the quality you most like in a woman?
I think I mainly like women who love to be women.
Mm-hmm. That's the answer. Okay, then what or who is the greatest love of your life?
I mean, sure, I love my kids. I even love my ex-wives, sure. They are the mothers of my children, so there's no doubt. My continuous love because I live for it every day, is arts in a way. So it's always a competition to my private love to my kids or to the mothers of my kids or to my lovers.
What is your greatest regret? Maybe you don't have it.
I don't have really regrets. I mean, maybe, if I think about it, I mean, I'm very happy with my life. I don't regret what I did, but a few travels I would have done, I should have done, which I still have the chance to do.
A lot.
I travel a lot, but it's always connected to my art life or to private situations.
How would you like to die?
Without being sick and painfully sick for a long time. That's the only wish I have. The rest is. I lived a great life, so I'm okay with everything.
What is your motto?
My motto? Keep yourself open-minded is really my thing. Even that I think sometimes I shouldn't be so passionate so fast. But I try to turn it into something productive, positive, beautiful, whatever.
Cool. Obviously, there was no question you were afraid of.
No.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.